Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is probably the weirdest collaboration of a video game series this year, though hats off to Ubisoft because they're making it a trend this year. Anyway, Mario plus Rabbids is an odd pairing of not just the characters, but odd in the sense that you don't get anything like Rabbids or Mario, but something much more like XCOM with this end result. Mario plus Rabbids starts off with a lovely cinematic cutscene. We see a brilliant young girl and her robot friend tinkering with their new machine that combines the matter of two objects into one. Suddenly, the girl leaves to take a break, and the Rabbids teleport into her work office with the use of a washing machine interdimensional teleporter. As the Rabbids start to explore the room, they start to tinker around with objects inside of the room, including the fusion machine and all the Nintendo memorabilia hung up in the room. Suddenly, the fusion machine starts combining Rabbids with Nintendo-themed accessories, and the teleporter launches these new mutant Rabbids, both good and bad ones, into the Mushroom Kingdom, starting us on our own adventure of Rabbid-driven chaos. The story is told through speech bubble dialogue and the occasional cutscene here and there that push the story forward. The dialogue writing is humorous, but definitely catered more towards children's potty humor over something like the comedic writings of the Paper Mario series. Though Mario plus Rabbids still has its own funny moments of conversation, like how seriously Rabbid Peach takes her cosplay. To my surprise, I enjoy some of the interactions of the Rabbids with Nintendo characters, despite it being stupid humor most of the time. In this setting, their stupidity has a bit of charm to it. I wouldn't say the storytelling in this game will dethrone the storytelling of something like the earlier Paper Mario series entries or Super Mario RPG, but it's cute and a bit humorous, especially that cinematic intro. It's an absolutely great way to start this game. Mario plus Rabbids is interesting because it takes two very different game series with even different gameplay genres and puts them into a completely new genre for each of these series. A turn-based strategy game on the level of XCOM, but with way more freedom in your tactics. The gameplay of Kingdom Battle is split between the strategy combat and minor sections of overworld exploration and the occasional puzzle here and there. The game is split into worlds with levels in those worlds just like a Super Mario Bros. Game, though the levels are all continuously connected. The overworlds in these sections are beautiful with lush looking visuals and animations everywhere. It's actually sort of bittersweet because I wish I could actually go further and to explore these worlds outside of the fenced off walkways that the game gives you. Luckily, you do get some Nintendo themed puzzles here and there. Occasionally you'll find a red ring that'll spawn 8 red coins you'll have to quickly collect to be rewarded with an item. Sometimes you'll come across a blue cannon that sends you into a minigame similar to something like Super Mario 3D Land, and completing the minigame will also earn you a brand new item. There is a slight sprinkle of gameplay variety here, but the biggest part of the game will revolve around the strategy gameplay and improving your characters for the battles. The battles in this game are very similar to XCOM at first glance, but boy does Mario plus Rabbids give you some freedom with that combat. First of all, you have a party of 3 characters, one of which always has to be Mario, while the rest can either be switched out between the cast of Nintendo or Rabbid characters. Each character can be customized through their weaponry or skill tree. Players use coins that they collect in the game to purchase brand new primary or secondary weapons that each have their own stats, affecting the character using that weapon. For example, Mario has the Matter Splatter that has good damage but is really bad at cover shooting, while his Rumblebee weapon is specifically really good against the Ziggy enemies. There's a skill tree system that can be upgraded for each of the characters using these purple orbs you collect after winning battles. These orbs are used to unlock new abilities for your character, like Mario's ability to jump on enemies or Red Peach's ability to dash multiple enemies at once. The skill tree is really simple in design and it's really easy to complete. Those intimidated by RPG mechanics should get used to the system pretty quickly. They're pretty newbie friendly. The combat, on the other hand, may be a bit more complicated for some, at least for those of you not into strategy games already or expecting a very casual Mario Bros. Game. Like I said, the combat is like XCOM using a grid movement system but with way more freedom. While in combat, characters can move, flank nearby enemies, fire their blasters, or activate special abilities. The big deal though is that the order doesn't matter. I can choose to move Mario and flank an enemy, then have Rabbid Peach use Mario to team jump further down into the map before switching back into Mario to fire his blaster. The added freedom and controls and order may intimidate new players to the genre, but once you get the hang of it, it makes for some really crazy combo fun. For example, you can have Mario run to an ally for a team jump that will have him flank an enemy, retreat to another nearby ally for a second flank attack, followed by an ability that increases the damage infliction of nearby allies that you finish off with a blast attack for the rest of your team. That's just one example of an attack strategy, but the freedom of choice lets you customize and plan out your moves, taking into consideration other things like the environmental elements. Occasionally, matches will have pipes that you can use to sneak up against enemies, and sometimes neutral enemies will like to pop up as well, like chain chops that will either attack you or an enemy so long as they see you in sight. You have to take all of this into consideration when planning your moves, and these extra battle elements along with the difficulty only gets cranked up higher as you progress through the 15-hour campaign. In general, the combat will get progressively more difficult as you progress into the game, but it always is pretty fair to the player. Enemies have a chance of hit meter above their head that tells you whether your blast attack will hit, not hit, or just be a maybe. If the battle starts to go south pretty quickly, you always have the option to restart a battle mid-match or even just switch out your characters for a brand new team. You don't even get punished for doing this, so you have the option to experiment with different characters and try out different strategies. The game will even sometimes offer you an easy mode that just gives you extra health if you're having trouble with a certain level. While playing through the game, you'll find collectible items that can be seen from the main central hub of the game. You can see 3D models of characters in a trophy-like system, listen to music from the game's soundtrack, or take a look at the concept art for the game. It's all really cool and interesting behind the scenes stuff that only further progressed my interest in finding more items. Outside of the main campaign is the multiplayer co-op mode that has each player control a team of 2 characters as they play through the different combat scenarios. It's a cool game mode to play with friends, though an online option to play against another player would have been really appreciated. It seems to make sense in theory, so I'm not sure why it was never implemented. Mario+Rabbids looks absolutely beautiful. It's one of the best looking games on the Nintendo Switch. The mix of animated backgrounds and cool little nods to Nintendo even past the Mario Bros. Series is incredibly charming, and it shows that the developers really did their research with not just the Mario Bros. Series, but with Nintendo. There were many times where I just backtrack or take my time walking through the overworld to really take in and appreciate all the little finite details going on in the background. As beautiful as those graphics are though, Mario+Rabbids does suffer from some performance issues on the visual side. At times during combat, it experienced some slowdown or an actual quick second pause before the gameplay resumed. During cutscenes, sometimes I'd be taken back by some late popping happening or a little jump cut in the movement of a character's animation. At one point the game even had a hard crash on me, kicking me back into the Switch's home menu. But luckily my progress was saved by the autosave and it never really happened again. For as much as this game looks great, I can't help but feel like it's really pushing the Nintendo Switch hardware, or it's just not as entirely polished as it can be. The game runs at 900p in dock mode and 720p in portable mode, both targeting 30 frames per second. If you plan on primarily playing this on the go, the experience is pretty great and the visuals scale really well to the smaller screen on the Switch. The same goes with the dock mode. It certainly won't be the most sharp looking visual experience, but the art style of the game really does pop on a nice looking TV. I can't praise the music in this game enough. Throughout the combat and the overworld interactions, there's a bunch of different orchestrated tracks that just play in the background. Whether you're in the middle of fighting some enemies or taking in the beautiful scenery of the Mushroom Kingdom, there's a matching track that just fits it so perfectly into that moment. Grant Kirkhope really outdid himself when composing the music for this game, and if you were a fan of some of his work in retro games like Banjo-Kazooie or even the recent Yooka-Laylee, I feel like you'll find some hint of that work in this game. Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle is an absolute gem. In a crazy combination that you never expect to work, it somehow does, and not only does it work well, but it works well in a genre of gameplay that neither one of these series have ever really tried tackling. This game screams charm from its beautiful animated visuals to its lovely sounding orchestrated tracks. The core combat gameplay is solid, and though it may be intimidating at first for players who aren't into strategy games, I think it's completely approachable. As someone who absolutely hated the Rabbids and isn't too deep into strategy games to begin with, I found myself falling in love with this title. I only wish it could have gotten a bit more polished to buff out all those bugs I mentioned earlier, though it didn't stop me from having fun with this game. So long as you know that this isn't a Mario platformer nor a Rabbids party game, and you know what you're getting into, a strategy game, I completely recommend Mario+Rabbids and would go as far as saying it's one of my favorite games on the platform right now. That's our review of Mario+Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I hope you guys enjoyed it because it's currently 2 AM as I voice over this, and I am tired, so my apologies if I sound tired throughout this review. But thank you all very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. I do reviews on Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC gaming. Thank you all very much for watching, and keep on gaming.